I want to thank the Center for Security Policy, i.e. known as Frank Gaffney, for putting, just all of you, for putting together this important forum. And we have the opportunity to highlight the ghastly human rights abuses that are taking place right here in our hemisphere. Why? Because of the iron fists of the tyrants in our own hemisphere. And I also want to thank the panelists first for storming in, taking some of your time and speaking and running, but it's go home day, so all politics is local. But thank you. These panelists have had an unwavering commitment in speaking out for those who think that they have no voice, that no one listens. These are their voices and these are their ears. People who are suffering under the brutal regimes in our hemisphere. And this event is so important because it shines light on two of the most repressive regimes in our hemisphere that undermine our national security at every turn. And as all of you know, when it comes to human rights abuses, Cuba and Venezuela, well, they are the greatest offenders in the Americas. Yet, despite of the demonstrated, repetitive failure of the systems espoused by the Castro brothers and by Maduro, the Obama administration sadly and pathetically continues to kowtow to these regimes and offers concessions without receiving anything substantial in return. Cuba continues to assail activists every Sunday. They do it throughout the week, but they love to beat the heads and arrest the ladies in white and others on Sundays. That's their preferred day of choice, and they continue to throw behind bars these men and women whose only crime is to believe differently than the Castro brothers. Yet despite the abuses, persecutions, detentions, the harassment, the attacks against the dignity of the Cuban people, the Obama administration callously decided that engagement was a better avenue to seek democratic change on the island. Last time I checked, more tourism dollars into the coffers of the dictators have not, and will not help people to free themselves from the brutal oppressors. It's not a recipe for democratic changes under a totalitarian regime, and it never has. As we have seen ever since Obama's sad announcement on December 17th, the only thing that has changed on the island has been the designation of a building, formerly the U.S. intersection, now called the U.S. Embassy. And this latest stunt, as you know, by the Castro brothers at the UN this week, is indicative of the true mindset of the Castro brothers, who want no change at all. But the administration of this wonderful country of ours is too blind to see it, or willfully refuses to see it. The White House conveyed to the Cubans that they wanted softer language in this resolution so that it would be easier for them, for the administration, to abstain from the vote or to actually vote in support of the resolution. I spoke to Ambassador Power, and she told me, we're working to see what we can get on the language so that we can abstain or support it. I said, that's not the correct avenue, obviously. I can't believe that, can you? And what happened? The Castro brothers again denied the Obama request, and therefore the U.S. had no choice but to vote against the resolution, in spite of the fact that President Obama and his administration is against the embargo. They actually voted no on the resolution to lift the embargo. And this illustrates just how much the Castro brothers think of this White House. They thumb their nose, at best, you could say, but equally concerning are the developments of Venezuela under the czar, Nicolás Maduro. According to the Venezuelan Awareness Foundation, Venezuela presently holds in its cells 99 political prisoners who have committed no crimes other than demanding a future that guarantees basic rights and provides economic opportunities for all Venezuelans, not just those subservient to Maduro's political party. How you doing, Dennis? Yet the repression of the Maduro regime seems to know no bounds. This week, Venezuelan social media was set ablaze with reports that there was a plan to shut down yet another media outlet. And what is new about this report is that the reported outlet is none other than Aporrea. What is that? It's the internet news outlet that for as long as it has existed has devoted its writing to the defense of the regime. The second it became critical of the revolution, it essentially became a target, the same as Leopoldo Lopez, Daniel Ceballos, Antonio Ledesma, dozens of others who have been famously lambasted in its pages. Yet as the economy continues to spiral, it has become impossible for the regime and their Cuban overlords to hide the reality of the endless lines to obtain basic products. You have all seen those photos. As well as ignoring the rampant crime rate, they are no longer able to do that. But no one in office in Venezuela seems to care about any of that. And as we have seen recently with the purported defection of Leopoldo Lopez's prosecutor, Franklin Nieves, as well as with the Wall Street Journal expose of the federal investigation of former PDVSA czar Rafael Ramirez, more and more people associated with the regime seem willing to come forward with information implicating party officials. The rats are leaving the sinking ship. And this is where the White House keeps missing its opportunities. Why are people coming forward now? Because of the fear of sanctions that we have passed in Congress that are aimed at Venezuelan officials who violate human rights. Now is the time to apply stricter sanctions against more officials of the Maduro regime who are violating the human rights of the Venezuelan people. The people of Venezuela because the people of Venezuela seek a future away from the failed model that ignores problems and trashes democratic values. The United States, therefore, has a moral responsibility to aid those activists on the ground seeking to create that Venezuela, a Venezuela that will celebrate human rights and not prosecute human rights activists. And the United States must tell the world that we will not be holding talks with those officials who are jailing opposition leaders, who are guilty of human rights abuses, and whose sole goal is to perpetuate themselves in power. If the United States is to represent the values that we claim to hold, then we must begin by doing so in our very own hemisphere. Muchísimas gracias, muy agradecida. Le deseo lo mejor en esta conferencia. De verdad que quisiera destacar la obra fenomenal del Center for Security Policy, que siempre están hablando de los valores que nos unen: democracia, libertad, respeto para los derechos humanos. Eso es la misión de este centro, es la misión de todos nosotros. Buena suerte en el día de hoy. Thank you.